Hey everyone, what I've got here is the Ubiquiti NVR Instant Network Video Recorder Instant. I actually purchased this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but as you can see, it's still in the box. And that's because it's missing one key component, a 3.5-inch SATA mechanical hard drive. But unfortunately, if you're buying a 3.5-inch mechanical hard drive just now, it's not as straightforward as it was even just 6 months ago, especially if you're choosing a drive for a NAS, or in this instance, a network video recorder that will be recording cameras 24/7. So this is the product that I purchased, and you can see that it has a slot for a single 3.5-inch mechanical drive. But one of the biggest problems is that stock levels are terrible. Yes, AI is causing a lot of problems just now, and it looks like this is going to be the norm for the next 2 to 3 years, especially because the big players, Seagate and Western Digital, who account for like 90% of drives, they are prioritizing drives for businesses, for AI companies, etc. So they are really prioritizing their drives for AI. They're prioritizing it for businesses, not consumers. And what that means in practice, and this is what I've discovered over the last few weeks, is that when you're looking for hard drives, they're mostly, certainly in the higher capacities, they mostly seem to be out of stock just now. But when you do find a particular drive that you want, it's in stock, yay, but then you look at the price and you're like, oh, maybe I won't go for that one just yet. And yeah, it's no surprise that this has happened. AI has affected the price of memory, of SSDs, but we thought those slower SATA drives would be safe, but no. AI companies do use 3.5-inch drives as well for storage, for images, for logging, for a host of different things. And what that means is, in the UK anyway, there's drives that were £300 just a few months ago, which are now like 450, 500. And the drives which were selling for 500, I've seen them listed for 700, 750, even up to like 850, 900 pounds. So there's not a lot of stock there, and the stock that is there seems to be incredibly expensive. Now, if we rewind a little bit, what do you do? If you've got a NAS, or in my situation, you've got a network video recorder, well, you've got a few options. You can theoretically put any drive into a network video recorder or into a NAS, but you generally want to move away from cheaper drives. They've not got a lot of cache, they're not always that reliable. I think for a network video recorder, you can still purchase a 5400 RPM drive. That would be okay maybe for a few cameras, but I think for most people, you want to go for a 7200 RPM drive, ideally one with good capacity so that you can record multiple cameras and retain footage for like 30 days or something. So that kind of narrows the field, and you should be looking at 8 terabytes and up, perhaps even more, 16 terabytes and up. I was looking at 24, 26, 28, 30 terabytes. So yeah, you have to kind of narrow it down to that. And in the market, Western Digital have the WD Purple Pro, and Seagate have the Seagate Surveillance AI drives. And these are optimized for surveillance, which basically means they've been optimized to record cameras 24/7. So, different from, say, data center drives, which are, focused on accuracy. They will just move on. They won't do a lot of error checking. They'll just continue recording, which makes sense. You don't want the hard drive to pause and try to fix things when you want the recording to continue. But as I was saying, I cannot find the Seagate surveillance drives or the WD Purple Pro drives at a good price. And it's unfortunately the situation that we're in. Now, the other option, instead of surveillance drives, they've obviously got enterprise level drives, and those are optimized for data centers. There's a lot of enterprise drives out there as well, and the good thing about that is there's a lot of recertified and refurbished drives out there as well, so you can sometimes get some good bargains on it. Western Digital have got the Gold range, there's the Ultrastar range, Toshiba drives are out there as well. And generally speaking, these data center drives are great. They're fantastic drives, and arguably better drives than surveillance drives and other drives in the market. But the drives that have been optimized for data centers tend to be louder. You can hear them, and they tend to be quite clicky as well, which is not ideal if you've got a NAS or a network video recorder at home, because it means that you could hear it in the next room, never mind the room that you're in. So I've been trying to look at the WD Purple Pro and the Seagate surveillance drives. I have looked at a lot of data center drives as well, but there is a third option for Ubiquiti users, and that is their own drive. So Ubiquiti sell enterprise drives, and they've got on 8 terabytes, 16 terabytes, and 24 terabyte capacities. Now, the funny thing about this in this market is that everyone has always said that these drives are way overpriced, they're way too expensive. But the crazy thing is, in this market, they're actually the cheaper option now. They're not the more expensive option, they're actually the cheapest option, you know, when you're talking like 24 terabyte range. That may change. I'm sure Ubiquiti will change their prices soon, but as I record this, the Ubiquiti drives actually are starting to look like a bargain compared to drives from Western Digital and Seagate. The problem with this is, as you can tell, this is an OEM product. Ubiquiti don't make hard drives. They don't sell them themselves. They are repackaging a drive from someone else. And if you look at the Ubiquiti discussion forums, you'll see a lot of people asking what drives are they? And over the last few years, these enterprise drives have been WD Purple Pros, they've been Seagate Surveillance, they've been UltraStars, they've been Toshiba drives, they've been all different types of drives, just depending on what they've purchased, which isn't great in my opinion. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I've seen a lot of people saying that they've bought 4 and 8 drives for their NAS or for their surveillance, and you know, some of those drives are different. They might have 6 from Western Digital and then there's 2 from Toshiba. So they offer a 2-year warranty, but you can, I believe, get the full 5-year warranty from whoever sells the drive. But it's kind of interesting the time that we're in. It's not a great market. It really isn't a great market just now. All of these higher capacity drives are much more expensive. I mean, all the lower price drives are expensive as well, but certainly you're feeling the pinch a little bit more at those higher capacities. And the annoying thing is that I don't see this changing anytime soon. If you look at all the news that's coming out, AI companies will be snapping these drives up for the next couple of years at least. So I don't know what we're all supposed to do in the meantime. What I've done is buy a second-hand 8 terabyte drive from CEX here in the UK, which is probably going to be used and abused, but you get a 5-year warranty, so I'll take the risk and yeah, I'll see how I go on with it. But 8 terabytes isn't enough for me. I'm, you know, long-term looking to get like 6 or 7 cameras, and I'm probably going to get a 24 terabyte or above capacity hard drive. So my used purchase really is just to tide me along to wait and see if I can get a bargain. But it could end up being a terrible decision because I'm not sure we're going to see any bargains for a long time. And I think a lot of people will start looking at used drives, recertified drives, refurbished drives if these prices get any crazier. So thanks for watching, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this, but I will say anyone out there who's buying a NAS or an NVR or anything like that, I can feel for you, especially if you're buying multiple drives. If you need to buy 4 or 6 or 8 drives, it's going to be expensive. But let me know your thoughts on all of this. I'd love to hear your opinion on this current situation. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will speak to you in the next one.